What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Eggin with Coalway. We're out here in Northeast Ohio. The fall season is rolling in right around the corner. We're getting those chilly mornings, which means we're making over the top chili today. So we're doing over the top chili today. What is over the top chili? Basically, it just means that we're gonna put a grate over top of our Dutch oven. We're gonna make a ball with that ground chuck seasoned up. And I'm gonna let that meat cook over top of all of our ingredients for the chili. And while it's smoking inside the egg, all those drippings are gonna go down into the chili to flavor it. And then at the end, we'll crumble it up, put it in, stir it all up. It's gonna be tasty. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're gonna get this ground chuck. We're gonna get some of our Bearded Butcher hot. This is really, really good for chili. It's got a nice balance of spicy seasonings. There's some habanero flake in there, really good stuff. So we'll get this seasoned up. We want to work that through the meat. I don't want to go too heavy with this because it will get pretty spicy, but we're going to make enough that you know it's there. And it's chili, so you want it a little bit hot. Top it with a little more of this Bearded Butcher hot. And then we will be ready to go on the grate. For now, we're just going to set this to the side. We're going to get working on some of our ingredients here. We've got a whole white onion. We're gonna go ahead and get this diced up. I'm gonna use all of the onion, all that good flavor in there. So I'll go ahead and get this finished sliced up. We'll move on to the next thing. All right, so we finished dicing up that onion, just a rough dice on those. We're gonna get working on this pepper. We'll go ahead and cut the stem off. Don't really need that. Now, if you don't want your chili to be quite as hot, you can remove a lot of these seeds and membrane out of the pepper. We like a little bit of heat, so we're gonna go ahead and keep those in. I'm gonna reserve part of this because we're gonna make something else later with that. So go ahead and get this sliced up, and we'll get this jalapeno in working with the onion. All right, so now we got our onions, our jalapeno all chopped up. Of course, we're using duck fat, why not? So the duck fat's gonna go down into our cast iron Dutch oven. Now, I wanna coat pretty much all sides of this, get a little more in the bottom. You could use olive oil if you want, but we're using duck fat because this is Eggin with Coalway and we use duck fat. So now I'm gonna take our Dutch oven over to the egg, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here. I'm gonna let this preheat for about 5 minutes, just to let this Dutch oven kind of warm up. And you can see the setup we got going on. This grate is just gonna sit right on top of that pot. And then our meat's gonna be right there dripping down in. It's gonna be fantastic. We're gonna do our veggies first. We got our onions and our jalapenos. We're gonna get those down into the cast iron and let those sweat for a few minutes. And then in a little bit, we're gonna come back with all of our tomatoes and a bunch of seasoning and all that good stuff. All right, so our onions and jalapeno mixture, they've been sweating in here for about 5 minutes or so. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put all of our seasoning into this, and then we're gonna add all of those liquids. We'll start with chili powder. I want a couple tablespoons of chili powder. So I'm just gonna eyeball this a little bit, good amount of chili powder. Then a couple of teaspoons of garlic powder. You could use whole garlic too if you want. We just had garlic powder today, so that's what we used. Then we're gonna do our ground cumin. That cumin, we're gonna want about 2 tablespoons of that. I've got ancho chili pepper. We're not gonna do quite as much of that one, so maybe just about a tablespoon total. And just regular salt and pepper. Grind some of that in there. Some black pepper and salt. Today I'm using that Himalayan pink salt. You could use kosher, sea salt, whatever you want. I'd stay away from the table salt. Onions and peppers, another stir with all that seasoning in there. This absolutely smells fantastic. All that cumin, chili powder, smelling really, really good. We're gonna go ahead and start getting these liquid items in. I've got 1 can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, 1 large can of crushed tomatoes, and out of a can, I'm gonna take 1 of these adobo peppers with a little bit of that sauce. We don't want a lot because this stuff is strong. We'll get some of that adobo sauce down in there too. And 1 container of beef broth. And that's pretty much the entire base of the chili. All right, I'm gonna give this a quick stir. And then we want to take our multi-tier grate, put that right on top over the chili. That's why we call it over the top. And then we're gonna get our meat that we've had resting. It's got that Bearded Butcher hot blend mixed throughout and also sprinkled over the top. And that nice ball we're gonna place right there over the top. And that's gonna go for a couple of hours just like that. All right, so our chili's still on the egg. It's coming along just nice. So we're gonna go ahead and prep up some of this jalapeno cornbread. So I'm gonna take the rest of that jalapeno that I had from the chili, and I'm gonna get a really fine dice on this. Now I've removed all the veins and the seeds from the inside because that's the portion that's really hot. And I don't want that in the cornbread. I just want this good jalapeno flavor. We're gonna have plenty of heat in that chili. So let's go ahead and we'll just get this sliced up. Come back this way. We want it nice and fine. I don't want too big of chunks into the cornbread. We want to try to keep that cornbread nice and smooth. I'll get a little better fine dice on these. They were stuck to the knife. So we're gonna take that into our bowl. We got the jalapenos in there. We're gonna do our wet ingredients first. I've got a 1/3 cup of milk. Go ahead and put that in. 1 egg, get that cracked in there. I'm gonna go ahead with my whisk and incorporate the egg and the milk together with that jalapeno. Just a quick little stir. And then we wanna get our cornbread mix. This is just your basic corn muffin mix you find at most grocery stores. And we'll pour that in, kind of stir it around while you're pouring, make sure it mixes all up together nice and even across. We don't want any real powdery spots. We don't want to over mix it either. So just once it's nice and creamy, you're good to go. So got all of our cornbread mix in the bowl mixed together. We're gonna get our skillet. We got a 10-inch skillet. I wouldn't use much bigger than that or your cornbread's gonna be pretty thin. I'm gonna get a stick of this butter. It's room temp, so it's gonna spread easy. I can just go in here since I have gloves on. Just spread it all the way around. Coat the skillet really well with all that butter. It's gonna keep it from sticking. Get our cornbread. I've got a rubber spatula here. It's gonna help me just scrape a lot of the excess out so that we're not wasting any. I've got the egg at 400 degrees. If you'll notice on the back of the box of most of that popular corn muffin mix, you'll see a recipe for Johnny cake. That's technically what we're making. That Johnny cake recipe is gonna call for the oven to be preheated to 400 degrees. So that's gonna be the egg instead of the oven. This will take about 16 to 20 minutes. So we'll get that spread around the skillet. And this is gonna be absolutely delicious with our chili. All right, egg's preheated, so we'll go ahead and put it on, bring it over. We're using the Mini-Max. So this fits absolutely perfect on the Mini-Max because it's the 10-inch. And we'll let that go for about 16 minutes or so, and we'll check it. All right, so we just checked the internal temperature of the meat that's above the chili, and it's at 160, which is exactly where we want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pull that big ball of meat off of there. We're gonna take it over and get it cut up, and then we'll pull the chili. All right, so we just kind of get some slices going to get it started. We want this to kind of crumble up, so we'll get it started here, and then just start kind of working your knife throughout, get it kind of cut up, and then we'll be able to go in by hand, separate the rest of it. We don't want the chunks to be too small, but we don't want them too big either. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this grate and just get one of these gloves and take this off. And you'll see we've got a pot of chili. Go ahead and get a shot of that. We're gonna get our spoon, stir this up. It's looking really, really good. All right, let's add our beef. We got all this beef, got it crumbled up. Add that back. It's got that nice smoky flavor to it. That's really the star of the chili for sure. Let's get our spoon, get all this incorporated to the chili. That's looking good. A lot of people put beans in their chili. I'm from Texas. We don't do that. All right, this is looking good. We're gonna let this sit on the egg with the meat in it for just a few more minutes. We'll pull it, we'll let it rest. Then it'll be time to eat. We're gonna check on that cornbread though. Definitely looking like it's done. Edges are starting to brown up. It's firm in the middle. We'll go ahead and get that pulled off. Just grab one of these gloves here. Take this off real quick. We'll let that rest for a couple minutes. We'll bring it all back together here in just a second. Time to pull the chili. Go ahead and get this off of here. Grab our handles. It's gonna be very, very hot, so be careful when you're doing this. Move it over to the wood. Give it a stir. You see it all kind of incorporating together. Looks really, really good. All right, guys, everything's done, looking fantastic. We got our jalapeno cornbread here. Got our over-the-top chili that's been going for about 2 hours. Go ahead and get this served up. All right, guys, take a look at that. Absolutely fantastic. Perfect for your fall get-togethers. Let's give this a try. Spicy, but really balanced, really good. And the jalapeno cornbread, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So I just want to remind everybody, the Bearded Butcher hot seasoning, we use that on the meat. A whole bunch of other seasonings went into the chili. You can find this recipe at biggreenegg.com, over the top chili. We made a couple tweaks, just follow our method, and it'll come out just the same way. As always, we use the duck fat spray. Come out to Coalway, check out their full line of Big Green Egg products. We'll catch you at the next one.